Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. We really appreciate all the support. Before we jump into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and YouTube that we're working on now. Just search Don't Go Out There on those platforms, and you'll find Brian's awesome cover art he done for us. And shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. We got all of our interviews, our episodes, our blog, our store. Anything about this podcast is on that website. So just check that out and you'll find it. And tonight we're getting back into our horror comedy month. We're taking on Brother Mike's pick this week. 2004, Shaun of the Dead. Mike, do you want to go first? Why you picked this movie?
Yeah. So, as I've said on the show before, I tend to pick movies occasionally, anyway, when we have some, range to do so. Bigger movies or cult classics just kind of feel like it's time to review this. I did it with The Shining. I did it with a couple of other movies where, whether I like the movie or not, I picked it because we are a horror podcast, and sometimes you have to review the big ones. So that way, when it comes time to pick some obscure ones, we can kind of, have some wiggle room with that. But we got to cover the basics. And I feel like when it comes to horror comedy, this one just takes the cake. It's a cult classic for a reason. It spawned a quote unquote trilogy, although I don't really consider it a full. I mean, it kind of is according to the directors and everybody involved. But this kind of kicked off, Hot Fuzz, and then hell, I'm forgetting the other one. But I really like this movie. I think it's fucking hilarious, to be honest. I think the humor is so good here. I love the callback humor that they use, where something, just a small, tiny line might be said early in the movie, and then later they call back to it. And I know that's on purpose. The foreshadowing is so well done. And I think this movie is well made and well shot. The cinematography is good. I know a lot of people complain about the jump cuts a little bit back and forth, but I think it's done in the very same style as the old Romero zombie movies. It pays great tribute to that while also making fun of them in a way. And I think there's a really nice balance of all that. So I picked it partially because it's time to cover it, and this was the perfect month to do it in. And it's one that I actually enjoy, which horror comedy can go very south for me very quick. And with this movie, it doesn't. I'm excited to talk about it.
All right, I'll go next. I got to be honest. This is probably my first pick of Brother Mike's that I truly did not like. Well, he picked Blair Witch because it just needed to be picked. But I got to be honest, this one wasn't my favorite. I do agree with him. I think the acting is good. I think it was well shot. I agree with that. But the comedy just ain't for me in this one. I'm already not a big zombie movie fan unless you're Train to Busan. So just kind of a spoof on zombies didn't make it any better for me. But I do agree. I think it's well shot and the acting's good. Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So this is probably like the second or third time I'd ever seen this movie, and honestly, I never liked it before. But upon this viewing, I kind of watched it differently. So this was a weird one for me. I mean, comedy is subjective, right? So, with movies that rely solely on comedy, like, I know I've used these examples a lot over the last 2 weeks, especially, but, parodies like Scary Movie or Naked Gun, et cetera, et cetera. Like, if they aren't your cup of tea, like comedically, then the movie sucks to you. So I said that to say, like, this movie is not my cup of tea comedically. I can't say I laughed probably once. I mean, I snickered twice, maybe 3 times at the most, but like this sense of humor is just not really mine. But what this movie has that those parodies don't is a good story, which I think that, I said before that, that's such a thin line between, horror comedy and a parody. And like this rewatch, I actually really enjoyed watching the movie for the story portion, not really the laughs, which this month, I'll say has been hard for me to review, period. Like, I mean, the note taking's hard because it's either behind the scenes stuff or not much, because it's hard to say they should have done that differently or that's not realistic because, it's writing that thin line of parody. So, that stuff isn't supposed to be there. It's supposed to be for laughs and gags. And so I found personally this to be probably the hardest month for reviews we've had so far, like in the 100+ reviews that we've done. I don't know how much sense I made there, but like, I will say I've never been a fan of walking zombies. and every one of these cats, they would have been toast in a running zombie movie. But so like I said, I don't know. I liked it for the movie and the story part, but laugh and comedically, it's just that wasn't my cup of tea for that reason. Go ahead, Mike.
And before you go, Dust, I got to say
Or
another
Dustin.
part that made it hard for note taking was Dead Meat James. What are you doing? Do a kill count for God's sake. I didn't have my go-to kill count just for a quick refresh, but yeah, you're exactly right. I hadn't seen it, and I didn't have nothing just to base a simple, just a general overview opinion on. So that kind of hurt me a little bit too. But go ahead, Dustin. General overview, brother.
Yeah, so basically what I'm hearing so far in the intro to this episode is that Mike and I are the more cultured, more refined portion of this podcast. We appreciate British humor, whereas Nico and Brian are, less expansive as far as their global take on comedy. Anyway,
And
I remember
literally in my notes.
Damn right.
The very first thing I even say in my notes is how much I love British movies. So that's incorrect.
No. British movies one thing. Do you like the British version of The Office?
Oh
No,
yeah, actually
no.
I do.
Oh, you're full of shit. This is the same thing. This is the same kind of humor. Anyway, so I had first saw this movie after I saw Hot Fuzz. So I know Hot Fuzz came out 3 years later, but 2007 Hot Fuzz was fresh out. I went and saw it, and I really liked Simon Pegg. That was my first exposure to his work, and I grew fond of Simon Pegg, so I went back and watched Shaun of the Dead. And there was a time in my life where I watched this movie a lot. I can't put a numerical value to how many times I've watched this movie, but it's quite a few. And when Mike picked this, I watched this movie last week, and it was the first time in years that I'd seen this movie, and I remembered how much I love it. So this is kind of a tables turning here. It's no surprise Nico and I are still adversaries, but it's going to be me and Mike teaming up in the tag team match now. So that's new to this. That's a new one. But no, I really like, yes. Does this movie have some of your typical spoof qualities? Yes. Is the humor kind of unconventional because it's a lot of British humor and a lot of slapstick humor? Yes. But like you guys said, it does have a good story, which I can appreciate. And also it does a good job. It does a nice play on the word zombie itself, right? Because before we get introduced to the actual zombies, you've got Shaun, who basically is a zombie.
Right.
He's living this
Exactly.
mindless, numb, dull existence.
Right. Exactly.
Every background character in this film, they're all zombies. The way that everybody's moving.
Absolutely.
So I like the kind of play on the zombie phrase there that this movie does, and then it all comes full circle because everyone you see in the beginning of the film, they themselves turn into a zombie, except for a couple characters. And so I think it's a very smart play on a spoof movie. I appreciate the comedy. I appreciate the acting. Like I said, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, big fan of both of their work. And so, yeah, I was excited that Mike picked this.
So yeah,
right.
I think you misunderstood, and it's my fault because it's like me trying to explain it. But just because I didn't think this movie is funny, I actually liked the movie. I just didn't like it for the comedic part of it. And so I'm actually not going to rate it low, but I actually liked the movie.
Okay, so it's a 3-on-1 handicap match. Get ready, Nico.
And I understand that too. And by the way, I understand maybe not getting like big belly laughs out of this movie, but I kind of like it for that. Like I think the humor was subtle. And look, if it's not your cup of tea, that makes total sense. But I loved what I kind of said it in my intro, that callback humor, that any little line in the first like 40 minutes of the movie kind of had a reaction later in the movie. And I know a lot of people may not like that, but I thought it was great. I thought they did it really smart. But I understand not liking the humor, but I do think that I think this is a good zombie movie. If you don't like walking zombies, that's one thing. But I think as far as, the stuff that Dustin mentioned where everyone is literally a zombie the entire time any fucking way. And I think that's really smart. But also I like the subtleness of the eye color changing. That's how this is a zombie. They don't immediately become mouth bleeding, flesh eating, whatever, right off the bat. You kind of get that subtle change, which I think is really, really well done, and kind of drags it out in some of the characters later on as they become quote unquote zombies. Also, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. My little joke, or not my little joke, but that little joke where Ed says, "Are there any zombies out there?" And Shaun goes, "Don't fucking say that." Well, zombie movies, you're not supposed to say the word zombie, as we learn in other zombie movies that we've talked about on the show. So I thought that was kind of a poke at the genre, which I thought was really funny. So sorry, go ahead.
Well, what Dustin brought up, like, I've got in my notes too, and that's what I really liked about this movie is that it wasn't, and it's like Ghostbusters. Like, I don't sit there and laugh my butt off at Ghostbusters, but it's not supposed to be a parody either. Like, it's just to me, a really good movie to sit down and watch. And that's what I felt about this. Like, once I kind of got past the fact that it's not supposed to be a scary movie, it's not supposed to be either you laugh or the movie sucks, because that's all it is. It's not like that to me. Like you were talking about with the, like these people leading this mundane life, and like you basically get that version of a zombie versus like the flesh eating zombies. Like, that to me is like, that's really smart, and that opened my eyes a lot and made this movie a lot deeper than it was, any of the other previous times I watched it. And once you actually look at it that way, or I did anyway, I really enjoyed it.
Y'all got any more opening thoughts before we jump into scene by scene? And this movie's it's pretty dialogue heavy, so I'm gonna let the guys kind of comment on a lot of that. But the film starts with Shaun at dinner, kind of zoned out, zombie like they've mentioned, zoned out when Liz is talking to him. She wants more time with Shaun and complains of Ed always being around. Shaun says Ed doesn't have a lot of friends. Then Ed offers to buy them a drink. David and Diane, another couple with him, tell Shaun he needs to set aside quality time with Liz. Liz tells Shaun she wants to do more fun things with him. Shaun says he agrees and they'll do more together. Opening credits now with a title card on the pavement. We see people just doing their jobs, kind of mundane. Now Shaun wakes up zombie-like and we see Ed on the couch playing video games. Shaun joins him briefly and gets ready for work. Pete complains the door was left open again and blames Ed and says he can't live like this anymore. They share a laugh, and Pete asks when he's going home. It's been 5 years. Pete asks Ed to clean up and take everyone's phone messages since he's not working at the moment. Ed apologizes, but only because he farted. Liz leaves a voicemail saying she won't make 7 p.m. dinner, so make the plans for tonight 8 p.m. Shaun walks to work and has a bum ask for money. He's almost hit by a car, and Shaun walks into a store and grabs a drink. We overhear a news report talking about American Probe 6 re-entering Earth's atmosphere and is broken apart over a populated area of England. He's on the bus now and sees a person passed out. Then he gets to work and he's like the leader manager at work today due to a call-in. One of the employees gets a phone call, then goes on to give a horrible motivational speech, and everyone walks off. An employee points out his red pen is bleeding in his shirt pocket, and now he's with customers. Then his stepdad asks if he hasn't forgotten about his bi-monthly visit tomorrow and to bring the flowers to his mother. Stepdad walks away, and now Liz calls as an employee nags him about separating work from personal life. He says yep to all her questions, not really listening. Shaun is buying flowers now, and we see a zombie-like guy swatting at birds. Back on the bus, and everyone on there looks miserable. Shaun walks into a friend, Yvonne, but a ton of emergency vehicles drive by as a man's car horn blows. She asks about his relationship with Liz, and he remembers he never set up their date tonight. He rushes home, and he's told they don't have any tables tonight. He gets pissed at all of Ed's jokes. Liz calls and asks what's the plans, and she calls him out on all of his lies. She hangs up when he says the Winchester. Shaun tries to go see Liz now, and they won't let him in. So he says he'll climb the window, or up to the window if he has to. He gets up to the room, and they argue, and David and Diane overhear it and hear that Shaun's called them a failed actress and a twat. He wants to go have a laugh, and she calls him out on all his lies. David says, sounds like your 9 lives are up, Shaun, and he explodes, saying, get fucked, Four Eyes, and storms out. Well, that's the first 2 scenes I got. Go ahead, Brian, kick us off.
So right off the bat, that long one take where Shaun walks down the street, it's a great fucking shot. And I'm a huge fan of one shots because if it's done right, it's super impressive to me, especially like, knowing what goes into them. And I have to give this one its props. I think it's great. I think it's even better in the next group of scenes where we get the same shot but zombified. But we can get into that a little bit later. Um, and my favorite part of British culture, like we were talking about earlier, is probably my favorite part of this movie. And because I think it's just how it's so fucking awesome that British culture can use cunt and twat like so many times as insults. And I think every time I'm like, man, I wish I could use that more in my daily life. But then I realize like it's not the same without the accent. So to all of our British listeners out there, and as a producer, I see that we actually have quite a lot of British listeners. I envy your word usage.
You know what's funny about that is that's the second time that I can remember you saying that you love an insult. You said it with cunt and twat, and then you also said it with louse. So
yes, you're right.
Yeah, so I would expect you nothing less that when we all meet up for you to call us all cunts, twats, and louses the entire trip. So
Hey,
that's a reminder. I need to use louse more.
Having a British accent in America is about as good as having a big dick. So we're fans of you,
Jesus Christ.
You British people. What did I say? Where did I say a lie?
Oh boy.
I'm George Washington up in this bitch. Let's go.
Damn.
Without the slaves, obviously. All right, let's go. Come on.
Okay.
Anyway, I do have to give it props, like though in this group of scenes for sure, when Ed says, "Oh, and your mom rang about me eating her out tonight." I did snicker once there. So that's one for me right there. And see, that's my sense of humor. So the fact that I don't think that this movie is really funny, like look at how stupid my sense of humor is anyway. So Bill Nye playing the stepdad, I was first probably introduced to him in Pirates of the Caribbean. I love that guy. And that's another thing about this movie. I think the acting, I'll say it all throughout. It's fucking top notch. And it's shown so much, especially in the third act of this film, where I feel like, no pun intended, because of the mom and the flowers in this group of scenes, but it really gets its flowers because to me, like the first two acts of this film are very slow to me and the weak points of it. And speaking of puns, I've been waiting to do another zombie movie to be able to get this dad joke out. So everybody better be ready because you better fucking be because this one's a gem. You may not know this, but Simon Pegg and Ed Frost, like they actually hurt their back a lot in this movie because of all the deadlifts.
All right. I'll see y'all next week.
All right, let's jump into our rating. Least favorite kill and favorite kill. This show is over.
Hey, let's not review the movie and let's review that joke. Let's give it our favorite kill, our least favorite kill, and a rating.
Well,
go ahead, Mike.
No.
Oh,
and I'm not cutting that. I'm not cutting that. I love it.
You should cut that.
My favorite kill was the hope for this episode after that joke.
My least favorite kill was me dying on the inside after Brian saying that joke. And my rating is a 2.5, only because I like Brian's smile.
Well, that is worth 2.5 at least.
Oh, man. Okay. What can I say about this movie that Brian didn't already say? Well, I'm a lot like Dustin here. I love Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I think their humor is great. Nick Frost is almost one of my favorite quote-unquote comedians. He has that show on Netflix with Ron Weasley that I can't think of right now, but that show's fucking funny. And so, he's just really, really good comedic actor. And I think he plays the character of Ed so well here. Just a complete fucking loser, but not in a bad way, not in a mean way. Guy just likes to play games, doesn't take life too seriously. So it's hard for me to view that character negatively. I kind of feel like everyone's just being a dick. Although, I mean, I understand nobody wants to be the friend that kind of drags everybody down, but I don't know. He doesn't really hurt anybody. He's just a guy that likes to play video games, fart, and, drink beer. What's wrong with that? But Shaun, we kind of touched on this. Just the epitome of one of the definitions of the word zombie. He's just going through the motions of life, and I think Simon Pegg plays that really well. I liked this movie. A lot of we've done Dawn of the Dead on this show. Somebody always kind of comes through as like the big time Jean-Claude Van Damme action hero. This movie has a bunch of just average ass looking people. an average ass situation, and they somehow come through anyway. And so you kind of get that here in this opening set of scenes. And I like the story here with Shaun and Liz. I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to, and so there's a lot of that is really well done. I'll be honest. Nico kind of mentioned this movie being dialogue heavy. It was kind of hard to take notes on actual scenes because a lot of it is dialogue. So I highly recommend you watch the movie if you haven't. Why you'd be listening to this and haven't watched it, I'll never understand that. But what I will, thank you. It's a good point. But oh man, I felt like I just Ringo starred you. Like I'm gonna put your joke on the fridge. I gave that no time today. I'm so sorry, buddy. Don't you say anything about Ringo Stardust, and I see your face.
Who?
Okay. Oh, all right. I'll see y'all next week.
Only star I recognize is Patrick, bud.
Oh, my name's not Rick. Okay. But no. Really good set of scenes as far as just kind of establishing the story, and I think that I mentioned it in my opening, but I like a lot of the lines in this set of scenes because they all pay off later. Liz using big words that neither one of them understand. But again, a group of her friends that you just don't really like. Like you don't really even like Diane yet. I mean, you kind of learn to like her, but like in this opening set of scenes, her friends that's a couple. They seem like a bunch of assholes, man. So I don't know. Kind of feel for Shaun, and I like the story that it sets up. So a really good opening set of scenes that kind of hooks me.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the opening set of scenes either. Now, do I think that the movie gets better than the opening scene? Sure.
Yeah,
but
yes,
I think that it's a very, very necessary opening that does a good job. So yeah, like I said, you get right into it with everybody in the opening credits moving very zombie-like. Fast forward, we meet Shaun, who is just very dull and mundane at dinner. It's like he's zoned out, doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's stuck in this routine, goes to the Winchester every day, hangs out with his best friend every day, hangs out with his girlfriend every day. It's the same day in, day out, mindless tasks that he works with. It's very much so like me in Knoxville at the bar called Roosters Bar and Grill. Shout out to Roosters. So this set of scenes does produce two of my favorite quote. I mean, this movie's got some great quotes that I like, but when they're sitting there and she's like, well, that would only exacerbate things. He says, well, what does that mean? Well, you don't exactly get along. He goes, no, what does exacerbate mean? Like, I love that because the way the delivery is like, well, what do you mean by that? How could that make it worse? But she's like, no, what does exacerbate mean? Exacerbate mean. That was funny. But they do a good job in this set of scenes of letting you know every character's role and background, and they do it in a hurry. So, we immediately know Shaun's the protagonist. We immediately know his girlfriend's fed up with his shit. We immediately know that her best friends are going to urge her to break away because they're sick of his shit. We immediately know that Ed is this very likable character that's just got this sophomoric humor that's wildly inappropriate, yelling out cunt and twat and all this shit at the bar. So I like that they do that in a hurry. We don't have to guess what people's roles are. And then when Shaun's at the store and he's giving the motivational speech, I immediately thought of Andy Dalton when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that clip, but Andy Dalton pregame, right before they run out the tunnel to go on the field, he's trying to rally the troops, and his delivery is something like, all right, guys, let's go out here. Let's play hard. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3. And the team's just like, win. Like, it's the worst motivational pregame speech of all time. That's Shaun. That is Shaun. He is the Red Rifle.
Yeah.
Great comparison.
Another quote.
He's the DeAndre Francois of horror movies. Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yeah, Brian, cut that. Come on. We ain't going to do that on this show, but DeAndre was a fiery leader. Come on. You know that. But
no, I do not know that. Please continue, though.
He didn't have emotion. Anyway, another quote that I love in this is when he goes over to when he realizes, oh shit, I fucked up. I got to get over to Liz and make this right. And he gets inside and he's talking to her, and he's like, babe, let's just go out. She's like, where? The Winchester? And he's like, you want to? And she's like, no. I love that because he's like, oh shit, I got her. She does want to go to the Winchester. That cracks me up every time. Like I said, it's not the best set of scenes in the movie, but I really like it because it does a lot in a hurry. You get, you start picking up on, you get our first hint of the zombies. We get the within the background and the you can hear it on the TV if you're paying attention to the clues that you're hearing on the TV background. And then the ironic twist or the play on the word zombie with how the character is moving, specifically Shaun, and just all the background actors. So, and I do love when he's walking through the store and everything. That every scene in the opening of this is replicated later, but they insert zombies in place of the background actors, and that's a nice little touch. It's a nice little piece that they put in there for you to pick up on, and I really enjoy. I'm instantly hooked based on the opening of this movie.
All right, Shaun tries to give Liz his mom's flowers, and she says she has to do something so she doesn't end up like those sad people at the bar every night. Shaun asks, "What do you mean?" Now we see Shaun. He's back outside of the door. He's been kicked out with a sad look. He walks off, and it begins to rain torrentially, and he throws the flowers away in a garbage can. He's at the Winchester with Ed now, looking really sad. Ed asks what else does he need, and does his orangutan impression to cheer him up. Now we hear a sad song on the jukebox. Ed keeps buying him more drinks and tells Shaun to talk to him. He tells him what Liz said, and he describes people at the bar. Ed says, "See, you don't need Liz to have a good time." Now we see someone knocking on the window, but they can't get in because it's closed. Ed and Shaun leave now drunk singing, and they stop in the street, and we see someone walking slowly towards them. Back at their apartment, they start DJing, and Pete wakes up and breaks the album, or the record, and explodes, saying he has to be at work in 4 hours, and it's 4 a.m. Shaun apologizes, but then Ed under his breath calls him a prick. He goes to punch him, then Pete calls Ed a loser, and tells Shaun to stop defending him and says, "You must keep him around, so there's a bigger loser than you around." He has a wound on his hand, saying he got bit and mugged on the way home. He goes back to bed and complains about the door being open again. Shaun listens to his voicemails and stumbles in the kitchen drunk and passes out. But he wrote down on his little message board, whiteboard, to go round mums, get Liz back, and sort life out. He asks Ed if he wants anything from the shop. His walk is real quiet this time, and we see people walking the street slowly in the distance. He goes in the store, and there's bloody handprints on the drink cooler door. He gets to the counter, and there's no newspapers, and leaves money and leaves. More zombie-like people walking in the background of him. My man is oblivious, I wrote. Back on the couch with Ed, and he sees a lot of news reports, and Ed says there's a girl in the garden. They go outside and call her to no answer. Ed throws something at her, and she finally turns around. Shaun says she's drunk, and they laugh. She walks towards them, and she pushes Shaun down and goes to bite him. Ed goes inside and grabs a camera and snaps a picture. He gets her off, and Shaun pushes her, and she falls, impaling herself. She gets back up, and they start to get scared when they see another big, bloody-mouthed person enter the yard. All right, Brian, go ahead. That's the next two scenes I got.
Again, I know I mentioned it in the last group of scenes, but I love the one shot to the corner here with the zombies. I saw, those two scenes done somewhere like side by side, and I really think it's absolutely brilliant because it's almost absolutely perfect. If you just laid one shot over the other one, it's almost exact. And, I give Edgar Wright his props there, which another tangent I'll throw out there. I like Baby Driver that he's done, but as a fan of like the superhero genre, like I am, like Edgar Wright never really even became. I honestly didn't even know who he was until his back and forth and him quitting, getting fired, depending on what you believe from the Ant-Man movie, which is one of the best Marvel movies too. And I know a lot of his writing was kept even after his departure. So the point of that was nothing. I'll say I meant to say in the last group of scenes, but the awesomeness of that deadlifting joke got me distracted. But I love how the cause of the zombie invasion is never like properly explained, like at all. And how when like people are about to maybe explain it, or you maybe get a hint of what caused it, they get interrupted by something. And at this point in the whole zombie zeitgeist, we don't need an explanation on what caused the zombie apocalypse. It doesn't matter in any movie. So I'm glad they didn't do that here. I thought it was a great shot of Mary with the hole through her. It definitely reminded me of that old 90s movie, Death Becomes Her. That was always like the defining shot of that movie. So I don't know whether that was an homage to it or not, but I don't think I've even seen it since then. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about this group of scenes. Yeah, and like I said earlier, like this group of scenes to me in the first half of the movie really drags, but in its defense and to agree with what Dustin said, like this stuff is very needed. You needed to see Mary, I believe her name is at the supermarket, and then turn to a zombie later. Like it added a lot to the movie. It added a lot to that whole, giving it like that deeper meaning, with the dual zombie meaning. Like it added a lot to the movie and it needed it. It just was a little slow getting there, which, I don't think I would have changed a whole lot, if anything, about it. So that's all I had.
Yeah, I'm with you on a lot of that. I don't have a ton of notes. Honestly, I don't have a ton of notes on this movie, just because I've seen it so many times. I don't think I took notes like it was my first time watching it. It was kind of a weird movie to take notes on. But anyway, and I think I messed up on the last set of scenes. I was talking about that quote when he said, "We just go out," and she says the Winchester. So yeah, this is when he gave her the flowers. That's when he said that. But yeah, I like how right here is where we get the second coming of him doing his routine where he's walking to the market and everything, and you see the same characters in the background. This is what I was talking about, except for now they're zombies, and Shaun is so out of it that he didn't even notice the bloody handprints on the inside of the door, and again that goes right back to the play on him himself being a zombie, just because he's alive and a warm body and it's not flesh eating, he's still a zombie. I like the we get the big guy, the zombie, and and we get the two zombies there showing up in their backyard. Which, by the way, another thing that was funny to me was I think I'm still getting it out of place, but when the other roommate is telling him, "If you want to be an animal, go live in the shed." It's hilarious that comes into play at the end of the movie when he's actually living in the shed. And Brian, like you said, with the explanation that every time that someone goes to explain why they become zombies or why the outbreak's happening, and they talk over it, kind of reminds me of that '70s show, like when someone asks Fez where he's from. Yeah. Every time he goes to say it, he gets interrupted, or there's a loud noise that covers his voice, and that's exactly what I thought of when I watched this movie. But yeah, I think they did a great job of. I like the way the zombies look in this movie. They didn't rely too much on bad makeup or bad special effects. It's pretty well done. And even later in the movie, when we get some gore, I thought the gore in this movie was pretty well done for what it was. So yeah, it's just this at this point in the movie, you're seeing actions picking up. We get to know what's going to happen. Our protagonists are going to be up against it, and they get their first interaction. So this part of the movie is where you get your anticipation build up. So effective set of scenes here.
Yeah, I love the comedy in this set of scenes. I think this set of scenes is probably where I laugh the most, because I think it's kind of where a lot of the dialogue meets the action-y or the more action-y scenes where there's more stuff happening and people aren't just talking. I think they kind of blend together really well here. First of all, I love that he had all the good intentions in the world with those flowers, and they said flowers to mom on that's that's my kind of humor. I love that shit. I also like that he, the name Bloody Mary is mentioned by Ed, and then what happens the next day? They see a Bloody Mary in their yard. And I think that, again, kind of goes back to the callback humor I was talking about. I think that's really well done. I'm kind of jumping back and forth here, but the song, I love the music in this movie. And the breakup scene in the bar is a perfect example of that, where it's just so random. They even kind of comment on it. Wow, that's random how that happened. Ha ha. It's just a sad song, and I like everything about the when they're absolutely wasted and leave Winchester's to the apartment. I love all of that. Them, in the street making music with the zombie. They don't realize that's what they're doing, or the old man zombie down the street. Like they don't realize that's what's going on. They come back. They wake up the roommate whose name always slipped me because fuck that guy. He's a prick. Um, and I think that scene's really funny, especially when they're DJing and it's not hip hop, it's electro, whatever he said. It's so fucking funny to me. No, I think, but one thing I really like is just how casual, and it's a slow build. And if it's not for you, I get it. But I like how casual they come into realizing these things are actually flesh eating zombies. They see the zombie, they kind of beat and then they go back inside and watch TV. It gets me every time, and I think that's why just the subtlety of the humor is kind of what gets me. It's not too far over the top. I like the set of scenes a lot because this is kind of where the intensity picks up, the suspense picks up with the big zombie in the back. But well, we're probably safer here, and then bam, the window breaks. Like it's just a lot of really like foreshadowing stuff that I think is really well done, and I think the acting in this set of scenes is really really good because you slowly start to see a small character change in Shaun, and I think it's done really well. So a pretty good set of scenes here.
All right, back inside, Shaun is calling 999 to no answers. They watch the news and we see someone walk inside. They look up and scream and run when they see the zombie. They throw pillows, beer cans at him. Ed finally cracks him in the head with an ashtray, knocking him down. Shaun shuts and locks the door. We hear scratching and the two zombies break the windows. The news reporter says that they can be defeated by removing their head or destroying the brain. They, they throw household goods at them outside with no success. They have a dialogue about what's in the shed. Then they grab all the records and start throwing them at the zombies. They get picky and don't want to use the limited ones. Shaun grows weary and jumps through the shed door. They get a shovel and a big wooden paddle and beat them to death. Back inside, they watch the news over coffee and ice cream. They call for Pete cautiously, and then Ed yells, "Hey, prick." Shaun calls Liz, but his mom calls and says something tried to get in the house. She says she's fine, and she says the people trying to enter were bitey. She says her husband got bit. Shaun says they have to kill him. They go over some plans but change it some when Ed lays down his ground rules, then go over it again when they say their house isn't safe. The news reporter says don't go save loved ones, just stay home. Shaun tells Ed don't use the Z word. Shaun looks through the mail slot and sees a bunch of them out there. He says he has to pee first and Ed has to drive. Shaun sees a reflection in the mirror through like the shower curtain, and we see Pete's in the shower. He chases after Shaun, but he shuts him in the bathroom. Ed and Shaun go outside to leave in Pete's car, but Ed sets off the car alarm by accident. They jump in the car and watch zombies approach. Ed drives off full speed. Ed puts in a rock cassette instead of listening to the news. Then Ed runs someone over, and then Shaun asks if they're all right. It gets up and they drive off. They get to the mom's house, and Ed says he'll watch the car as Shaun goes inside for Mom. He tells Mom to put the tea kettle on, and he'll check on Philip. He sees Philip in the living room and says, "I'm sorry," and he asks why as he goes to hit him with the paddle. Philip says he's not leaving, and Mom says she's not going anywhere without Philip. She pours tea and has him cut bread. He says Philip touched him when he was younger. Then he says, "Oh, I made that up." And Mom says to respect my feelings about my husband. Ed asks why is Philip coming too when they get outside. Ed crashed the other car, so they have to take the Jaguar. Zombies appear and attack Philip. Shaun gets the keys, and the four load up, and Ed drives off. And then Philip complains of the noise and the speed that they're driving. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so I did admittedly snicker at some of the dry humor, and especially in this group of scenes, like him saying, "Are they still out there?" Yep. I don't know, shit. That kind of stuff's funny to me. Or them talking about what they need to happen with the plan, and changing it up a few times, which again reminded me of like the best scenes in the Ant-Man movie, where like Michael Pena's character was telling the stories, and it's like showing the montage while he's telling the stories. So I'm definitely giving credit, whether it's his idea or not. I'm definitely giving credit to Edgar Wright there because I'm sure it came from this movie, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Those those. That's one of the only Marvel movies I've seen, and it has his ass written all over. I don't care what script or version they use. There's no way they didn't get those ideas.
Well, I
there.
mean, he had got a writing credit in it, so they had to use a lot of his script. But I definitely caught the Night of the Living Dead. I'm coming to get you, Barbara reference. I thought that was a nice little touch. And despite what Dustin says, I actually am a big fan of the original British Office. Now, I saw the American one first and loved it so much it made me appreciate the British one, so I went back and watched it more. But saying that, I said that to say I definitely appreciated seeing Lucy Davis playing Diane here, but I was a little disappointed in the amount her character was given to do throughout this entire movie. I think she was kind of sidelined, and that's a shame because I've seen how great comedically she can be. So I kind of felt like she was underutilized in this movie for sure. I don't know if some of her scenes got cut out or not. The last thing I have in this group of scenes is just kind of a fun fact. When Shaun and the group are running out of Liz's house, or flat or apartment, they're all carrying weapons of some kind, but only Shaun actually hits any zombies. And apparently this was because only the cricket bat that Shaun was carrying was a padded fake. So all the other items were real, and obviously would have hurt the extras playing zombies if they'd have hit with them. But so that's all I had.
Yeah, so on this set of scenes, first of all, Nico, nice job on the 999 reference. For those listening that aren't familiar, 911 in America is 999 in England. Very good pickup there, Nico. It's hilarious to me.
I was given good information on that.
It's hilarious to me that their first instinct was, oh shit, they're coming. We got to kill them. We got to hit them in the head. Let's throw vinyls at them. Like that shit's hilarious to me. Of everything they could have done, they chose one of his most prized possessions and just chucked records at their heads. I thought that was funny. And then when he actually runs through the shed door and he busts in and they get the blunt objects, they beat the absolute shit out of those zombies. And those zombies were holding up all right. I thought it was hilarious too because when they were sitting there, Ed said, which one do you want, the first one or the big guy? He said, the first one. And so they switched sides. I don't know why. It's just the deliberateness, the deliberate nature in which they were deciding these things. Let's do the vinyls instead of just grabbing this most blunt object they could find. And then, which one do you want to kill? That one. That just cracked me up for some reason. And then, with Philip getting bit, it's hilarious too because the whole movie, Shaun's like, he's not my father. And Shaun's got this resentment towards him. And so you knew right away when you find out he's got bit, he's like, well, we got to kill him. And so that was funny. And I cracked up when he's walking towards him with the cricket bat over his head. He says, Philip, I'm so sorry. And then Philip goes, wow, what'd you do this time? That shit cracks me up because it's so unexpected. The first time you see it, you don't know that he's still okay or in his right mind. But my God, how sturdy were these windshields in these cars? Because when they're on their way there and then when they hop in the Jag, I mean, they were mowing down zombies left and right and not a single crack in the windshield. Any other movie, those windshields would have shattered, which windshields don't really shatter. But I was just like, I was amazed. They must have bulletproof glass to come standard in England. But yeah, the action really starts to pick up here. We get introduced to Barb. Good call, Brian, on the "We're coming to get you, Barb" line there. I enjoyed that little nod to a classic. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I got on this set of scenes. Just another set of good scenes, and with the action picking up. By this point, I don't know how Nico could not like this movie.
Golly, I don't get it. Anyway, again, this movie is supposed to. I guess it just depends on if you like it, or not in Brian's case, but for the most part, if you like the humor, then this movie is definitely for you because Ed, the character of Ed, is fucking great in this set of scenes where they're throwing the vinyls and they can't decide which ones they want to keep and get rid of, even though the zombie apocalypse is on its way. It's fucking hilarious. Just like that's not important at fucking all right now, and he still wants to keep him. I think that's funny. All the dialogue where they're calling 911 and they're looking out the door and don't say the Z word. Is kind of a play on because you're not. in a zombie movie, you're not supposed to say the Z word. It's kind of breaking the rule there. So I like all of that stuff. I mean, there's just so much, where he wants to drive the roommates. I'm always going to forget his name because he's a fucking prick. But where he wants to drive the roommate's car and the way he kind of like begs to do it, even though apparently he can't drive for shit because he not only wrecks the car while it's parked. I know that's not really what happened, but that's the joke. He wrecks, he fucking messes up the other car later, and all that's really good. I love the character of Philip only because I know he's in this movie to die, and I think it's like when Ed shouts out at Shaun, "Don't forget to kill Philip." When he walks inside, makes me laugh every time. The interaction with him and his mom. First of all, I love the actress who plays his mom. I think she's so mom. Like there's just a mom quality about her. So I think it's very, very realistic. When he says, Philip touched me when I was younger. Yeah, no, no, that was not the truth. I shouldn't have said that. That's so fucking funny.
Yeah, that cracks me up every time.
It's one of my. It's so funny. And Dustin, you mentioned the cricket bat scene. Even though I could see that coming a little bit, I still think it works. Like I still think him, being why? What'd you do this time? Still works. Even though I kind of, was predicting him to not be all the way dead there. But again, of all the days for his mom and Liz to meet, what's about to come up here in the next scene is the day after they break up. I'm sure they've been together for quite a long time. So that's that's something else I enjoyed about this movie. But no, I like the humor a lot in this set of scenes, and I like the zombies in this set of scenes. I think while you could have gone a little more, I don't want to say over the top with it because I don't like cheesy, campy zombies either. But I feel like maybe they could have done a little more with the zombies. I still love the zombies in this movie. I think they're really good. And I think the effects are good too. They still hold up, at least for me. So I like to say, look, I just love this movie. So it's kind of hard for me to find too much negative, but there is one big thing later. But I'll save it. But yeah, so far so good on all these scenes.
All right, Shaun jumps out of the sunroof and hits a few zombies as he runs towards Liz's apartment. He calls for her, and a bunch of zombies, attacks around him. Diane hangs up the phone. We see Shaun has climbed up to the window. Shaun says he wants to get them somewhere safe, but no one has an extra car. Shaun says to bash them in the head, and they're going to the Winchester. They bash the zombies as they escape the building. Ed shows back up, and he drops a racist slur. They load up in the car and drive off. Several zombies roll into the car's windshield. Shaun says they're going to the Winchester because it has heavy doors, deadbolts, and a rifle over the bar. Philip says being a father isn't easy, and says, "I always loved you, Shaun." He says to just take care of your mom, and he appears to die. He has Ed pull over. Shaun snaps when he parks too fast, though. They think he's dead, but he's just a zombie now. Fuck, hold on. They escape the car, and they are surrounded by zombies. They take off on foot now, painfully leaving Philip in the car. They see zombies eating a person in the next door yard. Shaun and his crew collide into Yvonne and her crew of people. He says they're going to the Winchester. He hugs Yvonne, and they leave. Shaun goes to jump over a wooden fence, but it crashes beneath him. Mom sees a zombie in the house. He hears his mom yell and uses a trampoline to get into the other yard. The zombie from the house tackles Shaun through the fence. Shaun summons Jason Voorhees-like strength and impales the man through a tree with a playground equipment piece. He checks to see if it's safe over the fence, but there's tons of zombies. The impaled zombie, starts to moan, and now they all try and do their zombie impressions now. All right, Brian, go ahead, brother.
Now, this is what I would probably consider to be the third act, and to me, like where this movie really gets pretty good. First off, that scene between Shaun and his stepdad, Simon Pegg and Bill Nye. I mean, wow. That was legitimately very touching, and that's 100% on those two actors just selling that exchange. And to me, like where this movie really starts to separate itself, like from that whole parody line where it was really a legitimately good dramatic scene, like in a movie where I did not really expect to see something that good. Now, I didn't like how Philip just died. Like, he closed his eyes and just kind of plopped over. like if you and your friend as kids were like playing whatever and someone died and they just jokingly went like blah. And this isn't like a visual medium, but hopefully like you understand what I'm trying to say. Um, Sean's mother, I think, does it so much better later on. Uh, I did appreciate the gag with the running into the other team of people, that were basically like doppelgangers of the crew. There's a lot of Easter eggs here and connections between the people, but the only one I really felt like worth mentioning for me was the whole UK Office connection with Lucy and Martin Freeman. So I wanted to point that out. And I believe we're keeping count. The third time I think I've snickered with a was the line where Shaun says, "I'm going to check if the coast is clear." Walks up the ladder, walks down. Nope, it's not. I don't know. Like I said, that dry shit makes me laugh, but I appreciate the dry humor. Lastly, just a little fun fact to end on for me. The pajama zombie was originally scripted to like walk along the pole, like from the one that was impaled. So like, which is why it's kind of like hanging off the end whenever Diane is doing zombie lessons. And that's another point Dustin brought up. The gore in this movie, top notch, and especially here and in the next scene as well.
Yeah, so I like the set of scenes for one particular reason. It's the character development of Shaun. This is where you kind of get, obviously you get the scene with his stepfather or whatever, and that's, Brian, you mentioned that's a really heartfelt scene in the middle of this zombie apocalypse comedy, and I think it's really well done. Like I think, you kind of get a little bit of, again, character development with Shaun, and I do like, I like that we get that. His arc here is why this set of scenes work for me. He's kind of leading the charge, and Liz is kind of seeing why she probably fell for him in the first place. She's seeing something in him that she wanted to see the whole time, and obviously, look, I'm not a big fan of the other guy being in love with Liz, but it kind of helps play into a scene later that I really enjoy. So, neither here nor there, but just the dynamic of what's left in this group. You mentioned the gag where they kind of run into themselves, quote unquote. That was kind of funny. I thought that was good. The ladder scene you mentioned makes me giggle every time. But, when he takes the trampoline and jumps over the fence, for whatever reason, I laugh at that every time. And I'm not a physical
Did a
comedy
fucking
guy.
swanton bomb.
I know. I think that's why I like it. It's just the wrestler in me kind of, appreciated that. I thought it was good. And again, not a physical comedy guy, but some of the, when the neighbor puts them through the fence, I'm like, God damn, that's like me and my friends in the backyard in 2003, man, doing some hardcore matches. That's what that was like. Really good stuff. I had a feeling that the mom got bit there. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. I know we're going to get to it, but the first time I ever watched this movie, I had a feeling that's kind of what went down. I was just waiting to see how that unfolded. And
well, she said that's where it happened, I believe, later on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the first time I ever saw it, I'm like, something.
Oh, I got you.
Something's a little off about that. I have a feeling the mom might have got bit back there. But no, I really like the set of scenes because of we get Shaun kind of turning the page into a new version of himself, and just how many fucks Ed doesn't give makes me laugh. He's playing games on his phone. He's walking into shit saying, "Oh, sorry, man." Like he doesn't care anymore now that he's not the driver behind the car. He could give two shits, and I think that it's really good. I this isn't anywhere close to my favorite set of scenes, but it's Brian, you mentioned it being the third act. We're about to lead into the really strong set of just movie scenes. Like any zombie movie with the next couple sets of scenes is a good zombie movie to me, and so I think this scene sets those up really well.
I completely agree with that 100%.
Yeah, so I mean, this set of scenes you got, I like how, like you said, the character arc of Shaun is really great because he goes from being this zombie, this real dull, mundane character at the start of the film, and he's really forced into action. They force him to grow up and break out of his shell and take charge of the group. And so it's nice to see his fight or flight reaction and how he handles the moment. Shaun, I wrote the same thing in my notes here. But Shaun jumped a fence off the trampoline. That shit cracked me up because he's like, "Mom," and then you got just happened to be a little fucking mini trampoline there, and he does a perfect Jeff Hardy swanton bomb over the top of the fence. I love that. And then it cracks me up when Barbara, she gets attacked there, but when everything's settled and calmed down, she goes, "Oh well, I guess they don't live here." That shit just cracked me up because she's still just so calm, and she's fucking crazy, man. She's got something going on. We get that when Diane's teaching them how to act like zombies and everything. She's like, "Barbara, you really killed it." And she's like, "What, honey? I was miles away. Sorry." Like, she's so oblivious to what's really going on. That just cracked me up. And even though she's getting attacked by a zombie, she's like, "Oh, well, I guess they don't live around here." But yeah, good set of scenes here again. I really didn't have much negative things to say about this movie, if you can't tell. It's just a very enjoyable film to me, and this set of scenes just furthers that.
Are they going to the street pretending to be zombies now? They fake it until they make it and get to the Winchester's door. Then Ed's phone rings and Shaun slaps the phone out of his hand and finally snaps on him. They then see all the zombies and David breaks the window with a trash can, the biggest window right up front. Shaun distracts the zombies and runs through the crowd of them, leading them away from the Winchester. They enter the building and Mom finds her flowers Shaun threw away on the ground. Inside the Winchester, and David says they need to block the window off. David says he will take over as leader and calls out the others' judgment. David snaps and throws snacks around, and Shaun enters and grabs one of the snacks. David asks how he lost them. Liz asks what's the plan. Shaun asks Ed to do his orangutan impression. Shaun goes and flips the breakers, but sees all the zombies outside and shuts the blinds on them. Shaun appears discontent, and Liz asks what's the problem. Shaun said they followed me. Ed, like an idiot, turns the game on, making a ton of noise. They turn the game off and see all the zombies trying to break in. The owner is now a zombie and pursues them, and they grab pool sticks and with nice choreography beat the man with the sticks. David runs off and flips all the switches trying to turn the jukebox off, and as he dies, zombies break through the door after him. Diane throws darts at Shaun and the owner, and they finally kill the owner with the gun by pushing him into the jukebox. Shaun asks for help operating the gun. Barbara gives Liz her necklace and reveals she's been bitten. The zombies get through, and Shaun starts to open fire. Shaun gets to his mom and sees the bite wound. Now passive Dave has the gun. Barbara thanks Shaun for the flowers and starts to twitch. David points the gun at Barbara, and Shaun points a broken bottle at David's neck. Now they call out David for being in love with Liz, and Liz yells, "Can we just calm the fuck down?" And the next two scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so I love the speech Simon Pegg delivers to Ed. Fuck off. All you do is fuck things up. Again, 100%. I know it's because of the British accent and the extreme use of the word fuck, which I have to say I love it. That's what sells the speech to me. But, hey, what can you say? You can't ask for much more than a British accent and the word fuck in the sentence. I mean, it's great. Again, this third act, look, I really have forgotten at this point that I'm even watching anything resembling a comedy, because it's like Mike kind of hinted on last time. It's really good drama and action. And now I will say until Shaun goes for the whole distraction and then runs right through the zombies, literally worst zombies ever. But then I had to remember, like, okay, that's probably the gag. But that's the only part where I was like, oh God. And look, this movie really makes me hate like fucking Harry Potter here, which I mean that had to be, it had to be on purpose that they made Dylan Moran's David look like that. I mean, I'm literally surprised that we are all the way to scenes 9 and 10, and David's been on the screen how many times, and this hasn't been in Dustin's notes already that he looks exactly like Harry Potter. But
yeah, he does.
or Harry's dad, one of the two. Anyway,
Harry Twatter. No.
Wow.
No comment.
All right. Anyway, but I think it's great writing where he's basically the antagonizer and the enemy, and in these moments, and the zombies really aren't as much of a threat as he is. And I think that the fact that I hate him so much in these group of scenes says a lot about the writing, and I think that's good. Um, Also, I'm pretty sure it was another Night of the Living Dead reference, but I loved the visuals, like when the jukebox played and the visuals of like the hands on the windows and the backlighting. It's just that whole classic zombie look, and I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I was part of this. I thought it was good. Um, the soundtrack was great, with Queen playing here. And again, with music like this, and I appreciate, I've never said this before on here, but I appreciate when movies explain like why like music that doesn't really fit in the scene as like a soundtrack is in it. Like it shows the people turning on a car radio or a jukebox and like using that as an excuse to why it's playing that music in the scene. I really enjoy that, and I think it fits really well here. One nitpick I will say, and I don't know if it was meant to be or not, but the bar manager, when they're hitting him, like you can definitely see the padding in all the dudes' like shoulders and rib area where they're hitting him. Again, like I'm not sure if that's part of the gag, but it was almost comedically bad if it's not, because like where it almost looked like pillows under the shirt bad. Like it was really bad. Um, and but yeah, like this is probably my favorite group of scenes in this entire movie. Everything from what I mentioned to Shaun's like shooting being like extremely frustrating. But that shows me the movie has me here, and I cared about it. And and his mom turning at the end. It's kind of in this scene and the next. I thought it was very like that whole part was a very touching and like almost moving and scene. And I think it's especially in these next two scenes, Simon Pegg's acting is tremendous and great.
Yeah, so this is also my favorite set of scenes in the movie. I love everything from Shaun yelling at Ed, kind of dressing him down a little bit, and Ed just kind of not really knowing what to make of it, or at least it looked like that to me. You get the Shaun kind of leading the zombies away so everyone else can go inside. And fuck you, David, for breaking the goddamn window like an asshole. Fucking Harry Potter, Harry Twatter, whatever your name is. Jesus. No, this movie does a great job of making him very unlikable, as if the movie needed another antagonist. And again, I'm not a big fan of two antagonists, but Harry Pothead over here really does a good job of providing some balance. Very, very hateable. And something I like about this movie a lot is doing the impressions of the zombies works. Because no one ever fucking thought of that before in any other goddamn zombie movie. And from what I'm familiar with, I don't think the smell thing happened until the goddamn it, what's the name of that show? Walking Dead. Yeah, I don't think the smell thing happened with zombies as far as popular culture until that show. So no one else thought to try to act. Maybe we'll blend it in and I don't know. Fuck. I don't know. That's a pretty smart idea to me. I feel like they should try that. I'm trying it if we ever have a zombie apocalypse. I'm trying that shit. See if it works.
Well, you better hope it's not World War Z or Dawn of the
I like
Dead
every
zombies.
I really like. That's true. Although I'm pretty fast, they got to catch me. Anyway, don't look surprised. The fuck. Anyway, I like the set of scenes in Winchester, and part of the reason is because you mentioned it, Brian. The acting here is so good, even by the actor who plays David. His frustration and anger, I don't think it's justified, but he gets it across so well. And I think that he's such a sniveling little asshole. And when Shaun comes back, you're right. I'm invested in this character now. Like I want to see him prevail, and I think that really is kind of a testament to the acting of Simon Pegg. And you mentioned the Queen song. I just love how that counterbalances what's actually happening in the movie. Fucking first of all, Queen is great. Second of all, Don't Stop Me Now is also great. And so to have that song playing while all this chaos is happening around. I mentioned the nitpick earlier. The only thing I don't like about this set of scenes is them beating the shit out of the bar manager. not even for the same reasons that you say. It just kind of feels like it takes forever and it's out of place, and I just don't like it. It's I don't know. There's just something about it that it doesn't. But everything else about the set of scenes I love, and I know a lot of it happens in the next thing. But the part where his mom starts to turn or does turn is just so well done, so heartbreaking. Going all the way back to the kind of the you know when David and Shaun are going at it, that you could cut the tension with a knife. I think they do a great job shooting that scene from a direction standpoint. Just kind of the back and forth, the glass bottle, don't hold a gun at my fucking mom. I can't do an accent, you know how that goes. But yeah, really fun set of scenes. And my favorite set of scenes because the ending, which I'm about to get to, satisfaction, but I absolutely love the set of scenes. It's the set of scenes I think about when I think about this movie, so that's where I am.
Yeah, this set of scenes I really enjoy. I like how they did the different take on how to survive against zombies, right? Like everybody has different, every movie always has different takes on what you have to do to survive. And this is the first movie that really said, hey, look, what if we just acted like zombies? We don't have to do anything differently. We don't have to cover ourselves in blood and smell like them, like you said, like they did in The Walking Dead. We don't have to necessarily hide from them. Let's just try to walk straight through them. I appreciate that. And I love when they actually get to the Winchester. You have that scene, that little moment where they turn around and look, and all the zombies are just stopped still staring at them. Like, that's so funny. It's like the zombies are like, it's like that oh shit moment. I really appreciate that. I thought that was hilarious. And then fucking David, man, he is the most insufferable fucking character I think I can remember in a movie that we've done in a long time. God, I hated this little fucking twat, to steal a word from their lingo. He just panics and throws the trash can through the goddamn window for what, man? For what? All you did was give them an easier access point once you actually get inside.
Fucking louse.
What a fucking louse. I love the spoof of musicals there that we get once they're inside. Once the Don't Stop Me Now starts playing by Queen, they're hitting them with the pool sticks to the beat of the song, and you get the lights flickering on and off to the beat of the song. Yeah. It's like a scene out of any musical you've ever seen where the dance number hits. And I fucking love that because, little peek behind the curtain, I love musicals. You can fight me if you want. I don't care. These hands work.
I don't hate them, especially Hamilton. I love me some Hamilton.
Oh my God, Hamilton was so awful.
Oh, you're insane. You're insane.
Mike, this goes back to what I said at the start of the show about Nico being uncultured. It's okay, brother.
Yeah.
We'll have some wine and cheese and watch musicals together.
3 hours of singing. Jesus Christ.
And it was great.
I
am not throwing away my shot.
I cannot wait until I pick Sweeney Todd and Nico gives us a scene-by-scene breakdown of a musical on this show. It's happening.
Only if he sings it the whole time. He has to sing the breakdown.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
Sounds just like Alan Jackson when you do it. It'd be great.
But anyway, yeah, it's another great set of scenes. You get some really, the tension is about as high as you get in the movie right here. And so the build that we've got in the scenes leading up to this has all been worth it. You can feel like you're heading towards a crazy climax. Kind of like a
crazy climax.
Come on, man. So, and like you mentioned with the tense nature of the bottles being pointed at the necks and the gun being pointed at the mom, I actually read that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, they actually cried after shooting the scene of him having to shoot his mom because he took that scene as if he was actually having to do it to his own mom, as if it was his own mom in real life dying, and it affected him. And they actually cried together after shooting the scene. So that's the commitment to the character that I appreciate, and it paid off because this set is, the remainder of the movie has just got some great acting in it, and it doesn't get any better than when they are beating a padded actor to Freddie Mercury.
All right, here's the ending. Liz tells Shaun she can't imagine how hard this is for him, and we see Mum stand up as a zombie. Shaun gets a gun and kills her with a gunshot to the head. He turns around and punches David, and he says he's leaving. He apologizes to Diane while being dangerously close to a window. They break through the window and pull him out into the crowd of zombies. They rip his body apart and consume him alive. Diane opens the window and attack them with David's leg. The zombies get into the bar and they fight back against them. Gunshots, Molotov cocktails, but it's not enough. The zombies overwhelm Ed. Shaun kills Pete with a gunshot. Shaun and Liz jump behind the bar and Ed jumps in with them wounded. Shaun pours liquor along the bar and lights it on fire, but he left the shotgun shells on the bar. The shells they start to shoot due to the fire and fend off attacking zombies. They manage to escape into a cellar beneath the bar. Shaun sees an opening to the street but can't get it open. He cries now, saying he messed up. He says he's useless because everyone's dead. The cellar door creaks now. Liz asks how many shells are left. The two are going to shoot themselves. Ed says he doesn't mind being eaten. Liz and Shaun share a smoke, and Shaun discovers how to get out. Ed says he's going to stay because he only holds them back. Shaun gives Ed the gun, and they both share apologies. Ed farts again, and they embrace. Shaun and Liz make it into the street and are surrounded by zombies. They go to attack, and a bus of military show up and open fire on the zombies. Yvonne is there and says they're taking us somewhere safe. Now we see commercials of shows created from the zombie attacks. Now we see Shaun join Liz on the couch, and they discuss their plans of the day. Shaun goes out back into the shed, and he has Ed chained up in there like he's a dog, and they play video games as the end credits roll. All right, that's the ending, Brian. Go ahead, brother.
The first thing I have written down is that I love the line from Liz where she says, "I can see what David's saying, even though he's being a twat." Look, again, love the Brits. Love that line. Like I mentioned earlier, much better, quote unquote zombie turn than Philip earlier, as his mom just grasped for air at the end. It was just much more realistic here. And again, it kind of piggybacks off the last scene at the end of the last scene, and Dustin said it exactly, like, just so much damn emotion in this scene right here. I mean, I really thought the acting performance was very well done. And shit, the kills here, I mean, his mom got the shotgun through the head. It shows it. And holy shit, I was literally like, okay, that's my favorite kill. Then like 2 seconds later, you get David fucking bites it, and then holy shit, is like insides get eaten, and then they like rip off his appendage and use it to fucking like as a baseball bat. I was like, okay, never mind. That's my favorite kill. So just that elite, just absolutely elite group of scenes right there. Plus, fuck a doodle do. Damn, that's a great ass line. I definitely got to use that one too. But and then the basement scene, like Simon Pegg, just his acting, just really was just more than impressive. I mean, what did we do to deserve this guy in this movie? He's the goods, man. He's the fucking goods, no doubt. Now, what keeps this from being like a great ending to me, because right up to this point, this is my favorite group of scenes. I said it earlier, was my favorite group. Right up to this point, it's my favorite group of scenes. But the ending to me drags on too long. Like, I think that if you get them holding hands in front of that, in front of the lights of the bus, and that's the end of the movie, that's where I think it should have stopped. Like, I mean, the news and like the showing the later on, is that really necessary? I mean, yeah, it adds a few laughs, but it almost to me felt like an afterthought. It almost felt like we've been too serious this last act, the third act, basically. We've been too serious, and we need more gags. And so it just felt like it was just shoved in there as an afterthought. And to me, that should have been left on the cutting room floor. But otherwise, great ending besides just that very end part, to me anyway.
Yeah, the first thing I have wrote down is I'm not a big fan of fart jokes. I don't think fart humor is all that funny unless it's done really, really well. But for whatever reason, this one with Ed is fucking great. It makes me laugh every time. I think it's oh god, it's funny, but completely different emotion. You guys mentioned it. Just the pure raw emotion you can get from Simon Pegg's face when he has to shoot his own mom, it is so good. It really does suck me into what I what for the majority of this movie is supposed to be a comedy. It's a satire of zombie movies, but they really hooked me, with this story, and clearly they established he has a really close relationship with his mom from the very beginning, and the fact that he has to do this is it's heart wrenching. It's damn unfortunate. But you get the death of David, which, spoiler alert, my favorite kill too, because those effects look badass. Like, is it over the top? Yeah, but I love it. I think it's really good. It almost looks like the thing from It sometimes. Or not It from, excuse me, the Thing. It looks like the thing from The Things. Or, so again, it kind of looks like that for like a little bit if you pause on the right moment. And I doubt that was on purpose, but it was really cool where they just, I did not, the first time I ever saw this, I did not expect them to just split the man in half. Like, that was fucking nuts the first time I saw it. I went, whoa, what the fuck? But probably my favorite kill just because it looks so fucking cool. I'm in a disagreement with you, Brian. I like that they tack some of that laughter on at the end, only because as much as I love this third act of the movie where it kind of draws me in and I can take it a little more serious, I like the comedy in this movie so much. I like that we kind of get back to that at the end. You have Ed that looks, he's on a chain as a fucking dog, because what kind of other zombie would Ed be other than a lazy fucking guy that still wants to play video games? That makes all the sense in the world to me. I think that's really funny. Could we have maybe taken some of the military stuff out and all that? Maybe shortened it up a little bit. But I think the fact that we get to see what happens after, as they call it, Z-Day in the movie, I think it's a nice touch. And it got a couple more laughs out of me. So all in all, I really like this ending. And I think, I didn't say this, but Kate Ashfield, Liz, you can call me sometime.
I wondered when we get it.
I saved it for the end, brother.
When I watched this at the ending, I can't help but think I wasn't supposed to be so happy that David dies, was I? Like, there was no like, oh damn, not David, or no sympathy for him as a general human being at all. It was fuck yeah, rip his limbs off. And I did think it was funny how easily limbs come off when you die.
Yeah.
Because it's like as soon as he died, both legs come off, the arms off. Like that shit cracked me up. On the flip side of David's death, though, Ed dying, that one really kicked me right in the balls, man. You're really hoping that even if Liz didn't live, even if his love interest didn't live, you were hoping that his best friend for life would live. I thought it was hilarious when they're behind the counter and the bar's on fire, the ammunition going off because of the fire and killing some of the zombies. Like, I thought that was fucking awesome. And then, another one of the funnier parts of the movie to me was when they're in the cellar. Now, Mike, like you said, fart humor does kind of get me if it's done right. Like, you can't just fart and expect me to laugh, but silent farts. Now that shit's funny because it is also a callback to earlier in the film. He did the same gag, and I just love that he's dying here, and he's still, one last party gift to you, I'm gonna fart. So I thought that was funny. But one of the funniest parts of the movie to me is when they're reconciling. Shaun and Liz are reconciling, and he's like, you don't want to die single, right? And they're sharing this moment, and in the background you hear Ed, who had previously said, I can handle being eaten, I don't want to be shot. You hear him say, I think I do want to be shot. That shit's hilarious. Like, he didn't want to sit there through their love fest. That was funny. In this film, this film did have multiple nods to the original Resident Evil video game by Capcom. One of the nods being when they're in the cellar and they're about to give up, they actually find the lift switch, the switch that activates the lift. They find it with a lighter, and that's straight out of Resident Evil. But I agree with what you said, Brian, about how the ending does kind of drag. Like, I didn't need all the extra stuff. The the Zombies from Hell movie, all the news clips. Like I didn't need all that, but it is what it is. The another funny thing to me was when they get up on the street level, and then the army or the military rolls in, they just start gunning zombies down. I thought that shit was hilarious. There's like no regard, but it was funny too. Like they just happened to know that Shaun and Liz weren't zombies because they didn't get shot at.
I thought about that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I did too.
It cracked me up, and I do wish if I could critique something, like I do wish. I don't know. It was kind of weird how Yvonne was there and there was it didn't go anywhere. It's like, oh, she lived.
Right.
Okay. Like what I was saying about how even if Liz hadn't lived, I wish Ed would have. He could have even done it to where Liz dies, but hey, at least Yvonne's still together, and he's like, hey, silver lining, got my old squeeze back. But it is what it is. I like how, like I said earlier in the episode, earlier in the review, you get everything comes full circle in this movie. You get the call back to when the other roommate was telling him, if you want to be an animal, why don't you go live in the shed? And then Ed's being kept in the shed, and they're playing video games like they were in the first, and they're still zombies. And so I thought it was a good way to wrap up the movie. The climax was satisfying. That's what she said. And I highly recommend this movie.
Anybody got any more final thoughts for jumping some fun facts?
All
right, I'll go first.
One.
All right, go ahead. I only have 3 of them.
The only one I put down was just because of how much I love the remake, because I picked, and hey, I picked it earlier, but because of the timing and similarities of the names, distributors were actually forced to hold this movie back until 2 weeks after Dawn of the Dead in 2004 was released in the UK. So I thought that was interesting because I honestly did not know that these were both released in 2004 until we just did this review.
All right, I just got 3 of them. They're from IMDb. George A. Romero, creator of the movies to which this movie pays homage and lampoons, was so impressed with Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright's work that he asked them to cameo in Land of the Dead 2005 as zombies. When asked by an interviewer why they chose to have slow-moving zombies instead of running zombies, Simon Pegg simply replied, "Because death is not an energy drink." I think that's a great line.
I like my zombies on energy drinks.
And the last one I have is Quentin Tarantino dubbed this as one of the top 20 movies made since 1992.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool year to pick.
That's the year I was born, pal.
Wow.
I got just a few here. Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, they considered a sequel to the movie that would replace zombies with another monster, but decided against it. But actually, in the animated film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, there's a mock-up poster for a sequel that features Simon Pegg and Nick Frost from this movie, and the title of that movie is From Dusk Till Shaun, and so
nice.
That's kind of funny.
I never noticed that.
And like you said earlier, the line "We're coming to get you, Barbara," that is from Night of the Living Dead. Well, the director of Night of the Living Dead from '68, George A. Romero, was given a private viewing of this movie in his house in Florida, and he actually was unaware that was a line from his own movie. He didn't find out until a later phone conversation with Edgar Wright. So I thought that was funny.
Wow.
And then the last one that I've got is the rifle that they use in the Winchester is actually a Winchester Model 66. So that's funny that the bar is called Winchester. And it was a Winchester. And it's also the same weapon that was used in Night of the Living Dead 1968 and Night of the Living Dead 1990.
Okay.
I rarely do this. The only fun fact I have is I believe the original Dawn of the Dead score is in this movie at the very beginning. They found it in a music library, and they were like, "Hey, bam, boom, we're gonna use that," and it stayed in the movie. So that's another little nod to the original Dawn of the Dead there. Okay, so this movie had a budget of $6.1 million and grossed $30 million on that budget. So apparently Nico's the only person in the world that doesn't have a good sense of humor.
Wow.
Is that dollars or pounds?
I put dollars. Don't Harris. Actually, the word is doll hairs.
Do dolls come with that many hairs?
But I wanted to find out what's all the questions, man.
5 times his budget. That's pretty good. So let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill, and the rating. Who wants to go first tonight?
I'll go ahead and knock it out.
There you
All
go.
right.
So favorite death was that fucking insufferable twat David. I hope he dies of rotten death. Not in real life, because that's mean. He's just an actor playing a role, but fuck his character forever. Least favorite death was Ed. Here's the thing about this. This was a tough movie to do, least favorite kill and favorite kill, right? Because do you count it when they die and turn into a zombie?
Yes.
Or do you count it when the zombie's killed? So
Both.
do we count dead as a death or Ed as a death? I think so, because he's not. I don't know. So that's how I did it.
Hey, works for me.
You can do whatever the fuck you want to, Dustin. That's what
We
I
make
say.
the rules around here.
That's true.
That's
I'm the
right.
man. Who do you think you are? I am. So, like I said,
God
I
damn
love
it.
this movie. I love this movie. It's one that I used to watch all the time. I've forgotten about it somehow. I think it's because I don't own this movie, which is crazy in itself because of how much I love it. It's definitely one that now that I found out it's on HBO Max, I'm going to be watching more frequently. It's one of those movies to me I can put on as background and not be upset about it. It's familiar. It's hilarious. It's well done. And yeah, I highly recommend it. So for a rating on this movie, I went with an 8.5.
Wow.
You want me to go ahead and just go since I'm not going to be nowhere near as high as that?
Yeah,
We'll end on 2 strong notes. Favorite kill, I actually agree with you, Dustin. I picked David because I thought eating alive and seeing the carnage by the zombies was really a great look. My least favorite kill, I picked Shaun's mom just because I hate seeing mamas die. And for my rating, I thought the acting was good, the cinematography, all that, like we said earlier. But I hated so many of the characters. I can't believe y'all like Ed. I thought he was just a lazy piece of shit, and I hated him. The inconsistency of the zombies, I didn't like either. Honestly, it was just cringy and painful, and I couldn't wait for it to be over. Had some nice gore, but there wasn't enough redeemed for me. I wasn't a big fan of the comedy. I gave it a
Sounds
3.
like my honeymoon.
a 3.
Wow, honeymoon.
Jesus.
3.
I'll go ahead and go because it was
Man
quick.
gave sorry ass Jason takes Manhattan a higher score. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
God.
Anyway,
Can't all be the Babadook, I guess.
Oh gee. Oh, this movie.
Sorry, Nico. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Much
Can't
better
be
than
3
Bob.
from hell. That
That's
piece
right.
of shit.
This movie's better than both those movies. I can tell you that.
Go ahead, Brian.
Jesus.
And to be fair, I do like British comedy because Jimmy Carr is one of my favorite comedians of all time. But he's kind of a pervert and black humor, dark humor, whatever it's called. So he might not be the same as British humor.
Dear God.
Anyway, so my favorite kill, I agree, was David. Yeah, it was completely over the top. And in a regular zombie movie, if this was Dawn of the Dead 2004, I probably wouldn't have liked how over the top it was.
Right.
But it worked great here. I did not actually pick a least favorite kill. So moving on from that. Again, comedically, I didn't like this movie. I didn't laugh hardly, but the movie is works like Ghostbusters does with me. It doesn't work comedically. It works as a really good zombie movie to me, and I think it has a really good story. I actually gave this movie a 6.
Okay. My favorite kill is same as everybody, or the same as you, Brian. David. Over the top. Don't care. It works for this movie, and I think it's just fucking awesome. My least favorite kill is the same as Dustin, and that's Ed. Partially because we don't really get. He doesn't really get a death. Like he just kind of becomes a dog, which is very fitting. But at the same time, not my favorite kill by any stretch. So, I mean, if Ed's gonna go out, I feel like they should have gave him a better on-screen death. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of went over all the reasons I love this movie. I think that it's as a zombie movie stands. And look, I don't like zombie movies either. when we did Dawn of the Dead, I thought it was fine. I think it's probably one of the better horror remakes I've seen, but it's still not my cup of tea as far as horror goes. I'm not a big zombie movie fan. We did Train to Busan. I gave that I think a 9 or 9.5 or something like that. It's fantastic. But those are the outliers. Those aren't the norm. I hate some of those other Romero follow-ups to his Dawn of the Dead. I think they're kind of bad. Some of the other early 2000s zombie movies suck balls to me. Like, I don't think they're very good either. So not my cup of tea. But this one is. For whatever reason, the humor hits with me. But I also love Hot Fuzz. I think that movie's fucking great. And so, the same kind of humor works for me. The British Office, all that stuff. So really think it works in this movie. I think it works being delivered in a horror comedy type setting like this. It's a good zombie movie and a good comedy. And there's really good dramatic acting in this movie as well. All that being said, I gave this movie an 8.5 as well.
Hey. So 8.5 from you gives us a composite score of a 6.5.
Yeah, it was my fault. We missed IMDb overall. So I guess I'm definitely in the minority because IMDb is 7.9 out of 514,000 reviews. That's a lot of reviews, though, for a movie.
That is a lot of reviews.
500,000 people. Good night.
God almighty. It has a cult following, that's for damn sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but like we've all said, comedy is very subjective. If you like it or not. Like I said, I thought it was written well and all that. It's just it wasn't my kind of comedy. No disrespect to Simon Pegg, because he would be an awesome interview if we could ever pull that off.
Absolutely. And
go ahead, Mike.
Oh, by the way, if you're listening and it's one of your favorite movies and it's a cult classic to you, that's at DGOT Nico on Twitter. Nico with an H, at DGOT Nico on Twitter.
Oh, I'll stand in the pain. I don't care. It's all good. I'll just call him a twat and a bum, and they'll just run away probably.
Fucking louse.
God damn.
Y'all got any final thoughts before I announce my pick for next week, which I know that most of y'all probably poop on anyway, so it's all good.
You sucked my dick. Oh, sorry. I thought we were doing not.
Oh, God, no, that movie was terrible.
Yeah, but that line is great.
Jeez, it wasn't that bad.
No, it was pretty terrible.
Oh, God damn it.
All
Again,
right,
they can't all be the Babadook.
Yeah, that's an elite film, honestly.
Golly.
My pick for next week, we're actually, I remember tweeting, or not tweeting, but I texted Brian and Mike maybe, or I might have put in the group chat, I can't remember. I said, guys, I'm ready to do a slasher movie again, just because we all love slashers. So I'm taking us back to all four of our favorite slasher franchise, the Child's Play franchise.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
my favorite.
Just kidding.
Don't fuck with the Chuck.
I like this movie for what it is. We're picking. I'm picking Bride of Chucky. I think it's it's Child's Play take on meta, so it's a fun watch. It's not a masterpiece by any means. I'll admit that, but I enjoy watching it. So it'll be fun.
Spoiler alert of my rating, 10, because Jennifer Tilly's in it. All right, I'll see y'all next week.
Wow. Okay.
Got some good kills too.
I didn't even notice they were there.
I have always hated this movie, but I think that the fact that we're doing it for horror comedy month, maybe I'll look at it a little bit like, more parody-ish than an actual good Chucky movie. We'll see.
Fair enough. My feelings don't
I
get hurt
agree.
when my movies get pooped on like y'all's do, so it's okay.
Hey, my
just
feelings
kidding,
are hurt,
just
brother.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This show is awesome. I have a great time doing it. I appreciate all of y'all for doing it with me, and we appreciate everyone who listens. Big thanks to all the fans. And yeah, just going to say this one more time. We get a lot of people who ask us how can they help us with the show, whatever. Just share our post on Facebook. Share our Instagram post to your stories. Retweet us. Just tell your friends about us. We're never going to charge you to listen to us because we enjoy doing it so much. We just want you to just spread the word, and maybe we'll get some more sponsors or something like that. But we appreciate all the listens, all the support. Thank you for being the best fans out there.
Absolutely. Hey, number one biggest thing you can do to help us out is go rate us on iTunes.
Yes.
5 stars. And if it's
stars
not 5
preferred.
stars, tell us why.
Yeah,
That
just
does hurt my
just
feelings.
don't push
Seeing low ratings with no explanation, that does bother me. But y'all have
That's,
a good one.
I ain't gonna lie, boys. That's probably just girls that I've done wrong. That's all that is.
That figures. That's about
All right,
right.
no more toxic future Dustin going forward. Y'all have a good one.